But Bernie Sanders came in and he threw the gauntlet down and said, you know what? No, we know what this is. Get him in there because we get our crazy supreme socialist leftist agenda in there. And that's honestly not that far off from what he had to say. Let's take a listen to what he actually had to say. This is Bernie Sanders in a pre-recorded message. Hello, this is Bernie Sanders with a pre-recorded message. Let's go to Byte. Is it 26?
Byte 26.
Yeah.
Let me take this opportunity to say a word to the millions of people who supported my campaign this year and in 2016. Together, we have moved this country in a bold new direction. Our campaign ended several months ago, but our movement continues and is getting stronger every day. Many of the ideas we fought for that just a few years ago were considered radical are now mainstream.
He's not wrong. Many of those ideas have been adopted as mainstream ideas. Ideas that just a few years ago, not even, ideas that 6 months ago, people would have said, well, that's too radical. But they know they have to appeal to a certain voter as well. That Joe Biden's not going to rile up the base of the Bernie Sanders supporters, which truthfully were the ones who you'd want out there, the very passionate, aggressive voter. I disagree with almost everything he believes, but at least his voters were passionate. And you know what? It influenced the Biden run. It obviously is influencing who is being selected vice president and what the future of America looks like in this world, in the DNC world.
Well,
even
the way that he's been brought in this time, where he ran another very aggressive campaign, but in 2016, the animosity between Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton was so palpable. Like, you knew they didn't like each other, and they went to every step they could to kind of exclude him from the party decision making. I feel like this is the exact opposite. Yeah. That you see Biden and Sanders have released a joint plan that's, over 100 pages long that go through mostly Sanders leftist ideas and how that's going to be the path forward for the party and for Joe Biden if he were to have an administration.
Put a guy up there that feels moderate, but actually have him say stuff that's crazy. So now let's hear from President Trump. He spoke, was this in Wisconsin or was
Oshkosh?
This is in Oshkosh. I'm wearing it proudly right now. Wisconsin representing. This is from Oshkosh, Wisconsin. President Trump did essentially a rally, I'd say, is what I don't know what you'd call it.
He went to several cities in the Midwest yesterday. He went to Minneapolis, and it was one of those like fly in, step off the plane, and give a rally-style speech.
There was live crowd, I mean, at a distance, definitely. But there to see the president speak with, like I said, Air Force One as his backdrop for a lot of them. And this is what he had to say about sort of the connection between Joe Biden and the views and ideals of people like Bernie Sanders.
Biden is just a Trojan horse for socialism. He is. He's a Trojan horse. He has no clue, but the people around him are tough, and they're smart, but we disagree with them very, very strongly. They're mean, and they're angry, like her. By the way, nobody treated Joe Biden worse than Kamala, right?
That's right, and that's exactly the point. Look, and I actually have to commend President Trump for one thing. I am not of the ilk that comes out and says these people are stupid, they can't think, they're not smart. No, these are very smart individuals. He said we disagree with them, but these are very smart individuals, and if you don't think they are, you're wrong. Because just because their opinions are different than yours doesn't mean that they're not smart and aren't going to figure out a way to get their agenda moved forward. That's how, in my lifetime, it's gone Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Republican, Democrat, Democrat, Republican. It just goes back and forth and it flip-flops. Because there's smart people on both sides who are actually behind the scenes running this whole thing. Okay? The candidate does a lot, but there are a lot more people that are really pulling the strings here. And you got to be careful because these are smart people who, if you start writing it off, like, by the way, the Democrats did 4 years ago,
right,
and start saying, oh, it's fine, no one's actually going to vote. This is what happens. There's upsets crazy. And you can't let it just chill. You can't say, oh, we got this one. When was the last time, Will, even in our lifetime, polling was correct? Maybe Obama,
right.
Maybe President Obama, but even with Romney and Obama, they were showing pretty close.
Right.
You can definitely go back to, I remember the George W. Bush year, the second time's re-election against John Kerry. John Kerry on the exit polls were like blowing it out of the water.
There
and
was
he got
even
creamed.
A time where Mitt Romney was well ahead of President Obama, especially during the convention time. You get traditionally what they
Excited.
call
It was
the
bump.
convention bump, and that can be as much as like 8 points sometimes in the polls. I don't know that we're going to see that from this style of programming because it just doesn't really excite you.
It's just dry.
Doesn't motivate you to pick up that phone call from a pollster and say, yes, I am all in. And the same is going to be for, I feel like, the Republican convention next week. I don't think there's going to be, if it's similar programming, which for everything that we know thus far, it is going to be pre-taped speeches, very similar. I feel like the president will add some of his own flavor to it, and so that will maybe excite if it's a
disagree
good
with
speech.
it. I think that's lame.
But
I don't see why it's necessary.
I don't think there's going to be that big bump, though, for either side. I feel like the conventions are going to be pretty neutral as far as polling goes.